Hi, we're live at Children's National Research and Education Week. If you look around, we have more than 300 of our researchers presenting their projects. It's kind of like a grown-up science fair. So we're really excited. It happens here at the hospital every April. Children's National on a daily basis has more than 1,000 research projects. So we're really proud of the advancements that we're making. And I'd like to take you guys around and let you meet some of the researchers. But first, I want to introduce you to Miranda. Miranda here is actually a high school senior at Washington Latin, one of the public charter schools here in DC. And she's here with a class field trip. So we're really excited about how we're reaching different members of the community, including like our high school students. Miranda, tell us like what you hope to be studying one day and how this kind of fits in.
So my main interest actually is psychology. I think that specifically helping younger members of the community to help them understand their minds better is actually really beneficial. So that's what I hope to continue to do. And what I'm doing right now is going around and looking at these posters because my science research methods class is just at the point of putting our posters together for the project we spent the half of a year making. So.
That's awesome. So Miranda's doing something similar to this in school, so it was a great opportunity for her and maybe like 10 or 15 classmates
There are
to come,
15 of us.
15 classmates to come here and learn more about what these guys are doing right in their backyard and what Miranda will, I'm sure, be doing in a few years. Is there anything like really amazing that you've learned today so far? One thing?
So I saw a presentation about the effects of concussions, specifically on students who already have anxiety or depression, and I find that really fascinating as an athlete and someone who is really interested in the psychology field. So that's something really good for me to know going into what I want to study.
Yeah. That's awesome. So there's lots of cool fun facts that we're learning today, but I'd like to take you on to another one. Thank you, Miranda. I want to introduce you to one of our colleagues, LK. Who's been studying different ways of treating wounds on children that maybe have just had surgery or presenting with wounds and how we can make that treatment more effective.
Yes. Hi. Hello, everyone. So a little bit about myself. I'm a surgeon in training, and I've been here at the Joseph E. Roberts Center for Research for about a year and a half now, and I've been working with Dr. Anthony Sandler and a group of bioengineers from the University of Maryland.
So y'all are a mixed purpose team.
Yes.
Engineers, doctors, researchers, everyone putting their brains together.
Exactly. And we wanted specifically to figure out a way to make wound care better. The way that things are now is that they're very difficult to apply wound dressings, and they can be very painful for our patients.
Yeah. And they have to. How often do you typically change dressings? Because that's pretty frequent, right?
Yeah, it can be as frequent as daily, depending on the needs, or it can be like 7 days, depending on.
So tell me how y'all are trying to make this process better, easier, more pain-free.
Right. So we wanted something that will stay on the wound, that does not irritate the skin, and also be easy to take off when you need it, or something that we can just put on and leave it alone until it falls on its own.
Yeah. So one of the cool things about the new type of dressing that LK and his team is developing is it can be sprayed on, so that like reduces some of the touch, like some, I don't know if like you ever transfer germs or like anything. It takes all of that out of the equation, and it also stays better, and it's like already sticky when it comes out, so you don't have to do tape. You know, the tape on the hair of your arms hurt so bad.
That can be irritating for a lot of patients, and when you have to go through multiple wound dressings changes, that can be very painful for our patients.
Let's scoot out of the way. You can tell it's very busy. We've got lots of people here, lots of different things that our colleagues are studying and learning about to make just the care that we offer to kids a lot better. And I will say that LK is a fellow, doing a fellowship here at Children's National. So money, research, funding, grants, all of that go toward making things like LK's work possible. So we're really grateful for all of our supporters and people that care about kids and support Children's National in a lot of different ways. This is one of the ways that you are helping, is one day we'll have, spray-on wound care. Who would have thought about it? Yeah. This guy, he's smart. He thought about it. And his team.
And our team,
yeah.
our team of engineers and surgeons.
Yeah,
yes.
So we have lots of great things going on. Thank you, LK. We wish you the best of luck on your continuing to make this a household item one day in hospitals, standard in hospitals.
Yes.
I'll take you on. We're going to go meet Megan, who's doing something completely different but equally as exciting. Thank you. Here we go. Not enough. Thank you. Hi there. Excuse us. Hi. No, you're totally fine. Megan.
Hi.
She's obviously showing off her project to lots of different people that are interested. You'll see lots of people throughout the hospital are coming down on their break today to learn more about what all these folks are doing. So Megan, if you would tell us a little bit about how you're studying concussions. I think we actually just talked to a high school student who is very interested in your work. So that's
very nice.
Really exciting to know.
Absolutely. So I'm Megan Sadie. I'm a neuropsychologist in the SCORE concussion program here at Children's. And we are interested in identifying and treating concussions. When we first started, there weren't really any ways to measure the effects of concussion in kids. So over the years, we've developed questionnaires and tests to be able to do that. And since there are no blood tests or brain scans that we can use, we have to rely on, symptom checklists. So this latest research helps us move forward from simply measuring the symptoms and problems to really figuring out when kids are recovering from concussion, how quickly they're recovering, and in what specific areas they may not be recovering so that we can better tailor our treatment.
Awesome. And how is this helping kids? Like, now that you have this knowledge, is it changing the way you treat kids that are coming in with concussions?
I think in some ways it definitely helps us do things a little bit faster. So identifying areas, for example, migraine type symptoms or emotional effects of concussion that aren't getting better at the rate we expect. It helps us better understand how fast we can expect these symptoms to get better, because a lot of people think, a concussion should be better in 2 days, 3 days, and that's just not true for kids. So it definitely helps us understand and provide the best information we can to.
And how long have you been doing this work, Megan?
I have been here for almost 9 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's great to know that we have super qualified folks that have been here for a long time, dedicating their life's work to this kind of thing of helping kids the cool thing about these kinds of studies is that it's being done here at Children's National here in Washington, D.C., but eventually they'll take the knowledge that Megan and her team are learning and be able to share it with folks on the West Coast, folks in other parts of the world. So it's cool to think that the things that we're doing here at Children's National are one day going to be helping everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're already doing that. We're submitting some proposals for funding to collaborate with universities around the country right now, actually based on a lot of this work to help track recovery and help treatment.
That's awesome. And she did say keyword funding. We are really grateful for all of the different foundations, philanthropic partners, NIH grants, everyone. It really is a community effort. We need lots of support to learn these kinds of things and to support Megan and her work that she's doing. So we're grateful for all of you guys for your interest and support. And
absolutely.
Yeah,
we've benefited from lots of different types of funding, but we always need more because we're not done yet.
Yes, we're not done yet, and we're not done either. We're going to keep going throughout Research and Education Week. We're going to go talk to some more of your colleagues, Megan. So come with me. Excuse us, we're on. You want to wave? Hi there.
Hi, how we doing, donors?
We're coming. We are coming. John, this is Gabriella.
Hi.
She is studying HIV prevention in our youth here in DC. So can you tell us a little bit more?
Sure. So,
No, I'll
okay.
We'll just share.
Okay. Sounds good. So the pediatric health problem we're aiming to fix is to expand the knowledge and acceptance of HIV self-testing and pre-exposure prophylaxis, PrEP, which is a drug, in hopes of successfully implementing these interventions to stop the acquisition and the transmission of HIV.
Awesome. So how many kids have you been working with so far here in DC?
So,
50, 100?
so how many our clinic sees? Well, in terms of PrEP, we have only been able to get several people on board, which is
Okay.
why we've done the study
Gotcha.
to learn more on how we can get people
Get
more on PrEP.
more kids.
Yes.
And have you learned any good techniques or outcomes of
Yes.
what we can do to make sure that more kids are staying safe when it comes to HIV?
Yes, we have. So we learned that we need more people to self-test or get tests done
Okay.
because 1 in 5 people don't know that they have HIV, and that's
Wow.
50% of the new infections.
Wow.
So self-testing or getting tests done is really important. But in addition to that, taking PrEP, which is a drug you can take if you're HIV negative, if you
Okay.
take it daily, you have a 90% chance or more of not getting HIV.
Wow.
Yes.
Those are good odds. Very good odds. And one of the cool things that I feel like Gabriella referenced is that Children's National, we are here on Michigan Avenue, but we are also all throughout the DC community, all throughout Maryland and Virginia. We have lots of different community clinics, pediatric offices, and different ways that we are reaching people where they are, not just making folks come here to the hospital.
Yeah, actually, the study that we did, it's at United Medical Center ED, which is a pediatric ED that we work with.
Awesome.
But we also have the SIS clinic here, and we see patients 0 to 24 years of age.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
So they're going a little bit older than your typical what you might think of child, which just really goes to show like the breadth and the like wide expanse of what we're doing here at Children's National. Like
Yeah.
not even just reduced to kids, even like up to people at 24.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously the work here is really important. Stopping the spread and transmission of HIV is critical.
Yes. Because DC is a hot spot. It's one of the top places in the country where HIV is the highest. So this is a really important issue.
Makes your work all the more important.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And so we have lots of important things. We've already learned about wound care. We've learned about concussions. We've learned about HIV.
Important.
I want to take you to some of our other colleagues who are studying autism spectrum disorder. But thank you, Gabriella. Thank you for the work that you're doing. It's obviously very important.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Let's go. We're going to go back out the way we came. And we're going to turn here. Excuse us, we're live on Facebook if you want to wave to the camera. We have lots of folks. Hi, Judy. We're coming for you. Actually, you might want to go this way. Oh, perfect.
Was part of our team.
Awesome. We have Judy from Child Life.
Say hi, Judy.
Judy, wave to John. If you don't know, our Child Life specialists help kind of normalize the hospital experience for kids. They help them continue having fun, even though they might not actually be having fun in the hospital. Judy makes it fun. And she works with Eileen, who's a nurse.
Hi.
Right? Eileen, how long have you been at Children's?
19 and a half years.
19 years. And Judy's a long time veteran, too.
I've been here a long time.
She's just going to leave it at a long time.
There was carpeting on the floor.
Oh, Judy goes back to the days of carpet in a hospital. Eileen, tell us what you've been doing with to help children that have autism spectrum disorder.
Sure. So I'm the program manager for the Beyond the Spectrum program here at Children's National. We have a consult service called the Autism Behavioral Communication Consult Service. We help children with autism and similar communication, sensory, or behavioral special needs. We help them receiving their medical care. So our goal is to make it as least traumatizing and least stressful and anxiety-provoking for children with those types of disabilities.
Right. So you can imagine how stressful it is for a child just receiving care, and then you add an autism spectrum disorder on top of this, and it just makes it a little harder to understand what's
Yeah.
going on. So we're grateful
Yeah.
for your team and your program. Tell us some of the outcomes that you've
Sure.
learned so far.
Sure. So we work with a lot of kids with different types of procedures, and we know that children with autism, there's a higher prevalence of seizure disorder and epilepsy. And so for children who have epilepsy or seizure disorder, or to rule it out, they typically have to have an electroencephalogram, an EEG. Yep, an EEG. So these EEG procedures, while they're non-invasive, they do require the child to cooperate and participate, and there's a lot of sensory input in getting leads placed on the head, wrapped around their head, and then to keep them on overnight. So our kids that come overnight for EEGs, it's a lot of sensory input. And so for our children with autism, they have a lot of challenges with comorbid conditions such as anxiety, hyperactivity, aggression, and they also have a lot of sensory sensitivities that is individual to each child. So we try to identify those things that they might need accommodations for so that we can support their experience. So we looked at specifically EEGs because it happens so often for kids with autism, and how can we prevent them from having canceled procedures or trauma or meltdowns that come with having medical procedures.
Right.
So we did a couple different things. We created resources for patients and families, which I have examples here, but we do teaching stories, so they're similar to social stories, but it's more about an experience as opposed to a lifelong social situation.
So you're going to try to help them understand maybe
Before.
so before
The preparation is
they're doing the EEG, we're going to make sure that they understand what's happening so they're a little bit probably ready for it.
familiar.
It's something that they've already seen and heard
Yes.
about before.
So children with autism are visual learners, and so while even ones that have verbal skills, the processing of the information through pictures and through visuals and demonstration
It works a lot better.
changes their experience. So we did resources that get to the families before
Okay.
they experience it, so they can prepare. And then we we wanted to have more consults for our program to specifically support the high-risk patients. So
That's awesome. Now, I heard a story about one of your patients that was in your program, and the way the father described it, the child would have to be restrained and held down to get a blood draw, which at a hospital, blood draws happen so often. And to think that a child has to be held down, restrained every single time, but after he had gone through Eileen's program, they were able to take his blood without anyone holding him or restraining him. He just patiently gave his blood. Not one person. And when I heard the father explaining it, he was in tears. So that just goes to show you the importance of the things that Eileen is working and studying, and Judy's help too.
Can I share one thing about that? Is when a child has a positive experience, it changes that trajectory of healthcare in the future, because now they have a good experience that they can reflect on.
Yeah.
Yep. And then that young man that the dad was talking about, he's had multiple blood draws, and he had an ED visit, he had a car accident, he had all kind of things happen to him since our work with him, and he has not had to be held for any of those because he experienced that positive experience, and his parents know how to support him and prepare him.
That's
And
awesome.
what to ask the medical team for.
That's awesome. This work is very important. If we can just get one positive experience, it'll change a lifetime.
It can.
Which is a lot of what
That's what
we're
we do.
doing. That's all of what we're doing here at Children's National is changing lifetimes, making things better for kids in the future as they grow up to be adults and strong, capable, life-changing world changers. So thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Judy, for spending your whole life here at Children's National and
love it here.
for doing work. I want to take you guys to one more. Our colleague Elisa, she's also studying autism spectrum disorders and how to identify different functions, helping kids with that. So we have some more friends. Hi, guys. It's our pharmacy team. Wave to the pharmacists. Elisa,
Yes, hi.
good to see you again.
Yes,
We just spent some time down there with Eileen, who's also helping children with autism spectrum disorder. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing to help this population.
Yes, definitely. So Chelsea Armour actually did the bulk of this work, and she unfortunately couldn't be here today because she's presenting the work at another conference in
Wow.
Texas.
Okay, so again, we have lots of teams made up of lots of people
Yes.
that are all working together and interdisciplinary, I'm sure.
Yeah, we have people of all levels, and we also work, so like there are research assistants, with Chelsea is a research coordinator, I'm the research program lead, but we also work with psychiatrists, psychologists,
Yeah.
neuropsychologists, pediatric developmental psychologists, so we speech language pathologists.
Yeah. So again, we're putting all of our brains together from different backgrounds, different experiences to try to help these
Yes.
kids.
Yeah, so we know autistic people have so much to offer society, and it's really important that we help them show what their gifts are and their strengths. And unfortunately, because of their difficulties, that they can often be isolated or not really be able to show their gifts in the way that they would otherwise.
Yeah.
And so one of those difficulties is executive functioning skills, and that's actually a prime area of research for us at CASD. And so what that is it's kind of the skills that you use to help you use the knowledge that you have.
Yeah, if you told me it's like planning ahead, like
Yes.
being flexible, like knowing.
Right.
One of my weaknesses is like knowing how much time it's going to take me to do
That
something.
is definitely, so that would
these
be
are, like,
under what we call monitoring, so
Yeah.
keeping track of where you are and how much time you need to complete something.
And these types of things are harder
Yes.
for children that have autism spectrum disorder.
They are harder in general for kids who have developmental disorders broadly, so kids with
Okay.
ADHD, kids with
Okay.
intellectual disability, kids with autism spectrum disorders, even anxiety and depression can have executive functioning problems. But we know there are certain ones and a certain kind of profile of difficulties that we see more commonly in kids with autism spectrum disorders.
And after you've done this work, what have we learned so far?
So we specifically looked, if you see the poster, we specifically looked at kids with autism and intellectual disability combined. So intellectual disability is when you have kind of more global
Okay.
difficulty, so you have more difficulty in a lot of things, yes. And so we found that regardless of whether you have autism, if you have intellectual disabilities, you have more difficulty kind of holding that information in mind, being able to complete steps of a task and know what's coming next, just keeping it in your memory. But we saw that the two groups that had autism, whether or not they had intellectual disability, they had a lot of problems with flexibility. And this is something we know is kind of a core difficulty for kids with autism and adults with autism.
And you were explaining that earlier of like maybe like you're in English class and the bell rings and you're like have to put down your pen and paper, where most children like know that like, oh, we can come back to this tomorrow. Like children with autism like might have
a meltdown, or they might get really stressed or have a lot of difficulty kind of making that transition.
Switch to the next class.
And so we know that's a problem in autism, but seeing that it's also a problem in the kids with intellectual disability, we want to make sure that we give them the supports and access to interventions that we have. And so we at Children's have developed an intervention called Unstuck and on Target, led by Lauren Kenworthy.
So are those
So we wanna make
some
that.
of the ways that we've taken this data and research and we're implementing it into the way that we're caring for kids, right?
Yes, and we want to continue doing the research on that intervention to try to make it more accessible to kids on the autism spectrum across all the different levels of skill.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And again, like we talked about over there, like that's one of the things that we're studying here in DC, but can help autism spectrum disorder children all across the states, all across the world, be able to like make those transitions a little easier and just kind of make life
We're trying to get that intervention out there more broadly. So we do, it's here in DC and the surrounding area a lot, but we also have some collaborators in Colorado and some other areas that are also studying this intervention and how to make it more accessible to a wide amount of families and kids and individuals.
That's awesome. And what makes this possible is your support. Funding, NIH grants, foundation grants, all of these things make Elisa's work possible. She told me she's been here for 5 years, and she does a lot of work with our foundation, helping to raise money and support this with autism spectrum disorder, but also all of the things that we've seen here today. I wish I could have explained all. I wouldn't have explained it. I wish I could have introduced you to people that would have explained all of these different posters, because they're all so interesting and they're all helping kids in a variety of ways. We can't stay stagnant. Like obviously, like what we're doing here today in 2019 is awesome, but we need to be preparing for 2020 and 2025 and all of the cool things that are just like out there waiting to be discovered. And so that's where our community comes into play. Thank you, Elisa. Thank you to all of you guys. We're going to sign off for now. If you have any questions for our researchers, please feel free to comment. We'd love to answer them, or I might have Elisa answer them for me. But she's on standby to help you guys. So feel free to ask us questions or just to wish all of our researchers, thank them for the work that they dedicate to helping our kids grow up stronger. That's all, guys. Thanks so much.